Our dog Winston had never attacked anyone in his entire 10 years of life. He was the type of dog who would wag his tail and approach even strangers with friendly enthusiasm. But when Cassandra, the perfect babysitter who seemed like a dream come true, started working for us, Winston transformed into a ferocious beast we didn't recognize anymore. What we discovered through those hidden cameras that cursed night, I swear that even now, months later, I still have trouble believing it. Stay until the end, because the moment we saw those recordings made us realize we were handing our innocent children over to a monster disguised as an angel. I'm Jennifer, and this is the most terrifying story I've ever lived through. How our family dog literally saved our children's lives by exposing a person who was psychologically torturing them every single day, right in front of our blind eyes. In this video, I'll tell you exactly what Cassandra was doing to our children when she thought she was completely alone with them, how Winston risked his own life every day for 3 weeks to protect them from her cruelty, and the chilling moment when we finally understood the truth through those recordings that still give me nightmares today. But what you'll see at the end of this video, the moment when Winston confronts Cassandra for the last time, will make you understand why pets are the silent guardians of our families. But first, you need to know exactly how this nightmare began and why we were so incredibly blind to the signs. If you also have pets and want to know how to recognize danger signals, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss stories that could save your family. My husband Michael and I live in Chicago, both with jobs that consume us completely. I'm a marketing director at a pharmaceutical multinational, and he's a software engineer at a rapidly growing startup. With Brooklyn, 8 years old, and Tyler, 6, we desperately needed a reliable babysitter for our work evenings and weekends when we had to travel for clients. The search had become a real nightmare. For months, we had interviewed dozens of candidates. Some didn't show up to appointments. Others arrived late with absurd excuses. One girl arrived smelling like cigarettes and kept looking at her phone while the children were talking to her. Another asked how much we earned and made strange questions about our jewelry. We were almost ready to give up when Cassandra arrived. 27 years old, master's degree in child psychology from Northwestern University, 7 years of experience with affluent families. Her resume was perfect. First aid certifications, pedagogy courses, references that described her as an angel sent from heaven. When we first met her in our living room, she seemed too good to be true. And indeed, what we discovered later made us understand that when something seems too perfect, it probably hides something horrible. Cassandra presented herself, dressed elegantly but casually, cream cashmere sweater, perfectly pressed dark jeans. She spoke with a melodious voice that literally hypnotized you. When she interacted with Brooklyn and Tyler, her eyes lit up with what seemed like authentic joy. "Working with children is my greatest passion," she told us, looking straight into our eyes. "Every child is unique and deserves respect, patience, and unconditional love. My philosophy is to be a positive presence that helps them grow and discover their potential." Her words were exactly what we wanted to hear. Too perfect, too studied, but we were so desperate that we ignored what I now understand was the first warning sign. But there was something strange from the very first moment. Winston, our 6-year-old golden retriever who usually runs to greet all visitors with his tail wagging and his whole body wiggling with excitement, completely changed his behavior the moment Cassandra crossed our threshold. We found him hiding in the corner of the living room, pressed against the wall, in a place where he never went. His ears were flattened back against his head, his tail tucked between his legs. He looked terrified. "That's strange," I said to Michael that evening. "Winston loves everyone. Remember when the plumber came last week? He wouldn't leave his side for an hour." We didn't know yet that Winston was already perceiving the evil hiding behind that perfect smile. What happened during the first week should have made us run away immediately. Tell me in the comments, has your pet ever reacted strangely to someone? Your stories could help other parents. The first official evening with Cassandra seemed like something out of a perfect movie. We went to dinner at our favorite restaurant to celebrate an important contract that Michael had closed. When we returned around 11, we found a picture-perfect scene. Cassandra was on the couch, reading a child psychology book, with a steaming cup of tea on the coffee table. The house was immaculate, every dish washed and put away, toys organized perfectly, even the couch cushions arranged with military precision. "The children were absolutely wonderful," she reported, standing up with a radiant smile. Brooklyn finished all her homework. Math, English, and even that difficult essay about her school trip. I helped her review multiplication tables until she felt confident. Tyler ate all his dinner without complaining, even the vegetables he usually refuses. We built a fantastic castle with Legos, and he fell asleep peacefully after 3 bedtime stories. But while Cassandra was gathering her things, I noticed Winston. He was crouched in the shadow under the stairs, his body rigid and trembling. His brown eyes were fixed on Cassandra with an intensity I had never seen in him. When she approached the door, Winston began to emit a sound that made my blood freeze. It wasn't his normal bark. It was a low, threatening growl that seemed to come from deep in his chest. "I'm so sorry," I said to Cassandra, feeling my cheeks flush. "I don't know what's gotten into him. Winston is normally the friendliest dog in the world." Cassandra tilted her head and laughed with what seemed like infinite understanding. "Don't worry about it at all, Jennifer. I studied animal behavior during my university training. Dogs sometimes react this way when their territory is invaded by new people. It's completely normal. He'll just need time to get used to it." Her explanation sounded so professional, so logical. How could we know she was already starting to manipulate us? What happened during the second week showed us that Winston wasn't reacting randomly. He was desperately trying to warn us of a danger we couldn't see. During the second week, Winston's behavior worsened dramatically. He was no longer just hiding. He had started an all-out war against Cassandra. Tuesday evening, while we were preparing for an important corporate event, Winston did something I'll never forget. He positioned himself in front of the front door like a guard dog and began to howl. Not bark, howl like a wolf, with a heartbreaking sound that seemed to come from the depths of his soul. When Cassandra rang the doorbell, Winston literally exploded. He launched himself at her with a ferocity that shocked me. He barked aggressively, showed his teeth, and tried to bite her legs, something he had never done to anyone in his entire life. Cassandra stumbled backward, momentarily losing her balance, and for a fraction of a second, no more than a heartbeat, I saw her mask fall completely. Her face contorted into an expression of pure disgust and cold rage. Her eyes narrowed with a hatred that gave me goosebumps. For a moment, I saw the real monster hiding behind that perfect smile. But it lasted less than a second. Immediately after, she laughed nervously, shaking her head. "Wow, he's really agitated today, isn't he? Poor little guy. He must be very stressed by the changes." That night, when we returned, we found something that should have made us call the police immediately. But we, blinded by our trust and our need to believe everything was fine, found rational excuses for what was clearly a cry for help. If this story is affecting you, give it a like to make it visible to as many parents as possible. It could save a family. Brooklyn, our tireless chatterbox who normally overwhelmed us with stories about her day, had become strangely silent. When we came home from work, instead of running to us with her usual enthusiasm, she would sit on the couch, almost motionless. "How did it go with Cassandra today?" I would ask her every evening, and she would always answer exactly the same thing, with a flat, mechanical voice. "She was good, Mum. She taught me important things about how to be a better girl." But when I tried to ask more specific questions, what kind of things she taught her, what they talked about, what games they played, Brooklyn would become vague and change the subject. Her eyes, normally bright with life and curiosity, seemed dull. Tyler was worse. Our little sunshine, who filled the house with laughter, had started having terrible nightmares that woke him up screaming in the middle of the night. "What did you dream about, honey?" I would ask, running to his room, finding him sitting on the bed with his face streaked with tears and his body trembling uncontrollably. "I don't remember, Mom," he would always whisper, but his eyes contained a fear that no 6-year-old should ever feel. During the day, Tyler had become nervous and anxious. He would startle at normal sounds: the doorbell, the washing machine, even when someone closed a door. He had started wetting the bed again, something that hadn't happened since he was 4. But the most disturbing sign was yet to come. What we found that evening when we returned from the corporate event made us understand that something terrible was happening in our house. Something that Winston had desperately tried to tell us for weeks. When we entered the house that night, the silence was deafening. Normally the children would run to us even if they were already in pajamas, excited to tell us about their evening. But that time, nothing. "Brooklyn? Tyler?" I called, taking off my shoes in the entrance. Silence. I found Brooklyn in her room, sitting on the edge of the bed like a marble statue. She was completely motionless, staring into space. Her face, normally expressive and lively, was an empty mask. "Hi, sweetheart," I said gently, sitting next to her. "How was the evening?" Brooklyn didn't move a muscle. Then, with a voice so low, I had to lean down to hear it, she whispered, "It was fine, Mom. Nothing particular happened." Cassandra explained to me that good girls never complain, and don't tell stories to adults. "What kind of stories, Brooklyn?" "Made-up stories about grown-ups. Cassandra says that if I tell lies about her, no one will ever believe me again, and everyone will think I'm a bad girl who can't tell reality from fantasy." The way she pronounced those words, mechanically, as if she had repeated them 100 times in her head, made me nauseous. I looked for Tyler and found him locked in the bathroom. He had pushed the desk chair against the door to barricade himself inside. "Tyler, open the door, honey. It's Mom." Silence. "Tyler, please. You're not in trouble. I promise." After 10 minutes of pleading, he finally opened. I found him huddled behind the shower curtain, still dressed, clutching his favorite stuffed animal to his chest. And Winston. Our poor, brave. Winston had a deep gash on his side that was still bleeding. When he tried to walk, he limped, visibly. His eyes, normally bright and alert, were dull and traumatized. That night, after medicating Winston and finally getting the children to sleep in our bed, I made the most important decision of my life. A decision that Michael thought was paranoid, but which turned out to be the only thing that saved our children's mental health. "Something terrible is happening in this house," I told Michael, looking him straight in the eyes. "Winston isn't going crazy. He's trying to protect us from something we can't see." Michael, always logical and rational, shook his head. "Jennifer, you're overreacting. Cassandra has been fantastic. Look how she keeps the house clean, how she helps the children with homework. Maybe Winston just needs more time, or maybe we should take him to the vet." "No, Michael. Animals have instincts we've lost. They know how to recognize danger, evil, bad intentions. Winston is risking his life every day to tell us something important. Subscribe to the channel if you want to know how this incredible story ended. You won't regret it." The next day, while Michael was at the office, I called my brother-in-law, Robert, who has a security systems company. "Robert, I need your help. I want to install hidden cameras throughout the house." "Jennifer, are you sure? That seems a bit extreme." "I have a terrible feeling. Please, trust me." Robert arrived that afternoon and installed 8 high-definition cameras. 1 in the living room, with a panoramic view. 1 in the kitchen, positioned to capture the entire area. 1 in the hallway leading to the bedrooms. 1 hidden in each of the children's rooms, and additional cameras in the dining room and our study. The cameras were tiny, practically invisible, designed to record everything 24 hours a day, with automatic cloud backup. "If nothing happens," Robert told me while testing the last device, "at least you'll have peace of mind. But if your feelings are right," he left the sentence hanging, but his worried look told me everything. 2 days later, we were ready to discover the truth. A truth that was much worse than anything we had imagined. Thursday evening, we followed our normal routine. Dinner at our favorite Japanese restaurant to celebrate a project that Michael had successfully completed. Cassandra arrived at 7 sharp, as always, with her perfect smile and warm hugs for the children. "Have fun," she told us from the door, waving her hand while Brooklyn and Tyler stood beside her like 2 perfect little soldiers. During dinner, I couldn't relax. I kept thinking about those cameras, about Winston, about the changes in the children. Michael tried to distract me by talking about work, but my mind was at home. We returned around midnight. Cassandra greeted us with her usual perfect report. The children were wonderful. They did all their homework. They went to bed without problems. After Cassandra left, Michael went to check on the children, while I turned on the computer to watch the recordings. "We probably won't find anything," he told me, "but at least you'll be able to rest easy." I clicked on the first video file. The first 15 minutes seemed normal. Cassandra helping Brooklyn with science homework, preparing a healthy snack for Tyler, tidying up some toys. Then Brooklyn accidentally dropped a colored pencil on the kitchen floor. And the world stopped. What we're about to show you is shocking. If you have young children, you absolutely must see this. Give it a like if you're ready for the truth. Cassandra instantly transformed into something monstrous. She grabbed Brooklyn by the arm with violence that physically hurt me just watching it. Her face, always so sweet and maternal, contorted into a mask of pure hatred. "You're a stupid, clumsy, useless girl," she hissed directly in her face, with a voice that didn't even seem human. "Your parents think you're so special, but I know the truth. You're just a useless burden who can't do anything right." Brooklyn began to cry silently, tears streaming down her cheeks. Cassandra shook her violently. "Stop whimpering like a baby immediately, or I'll give you something real to cry about. And if you dare tell a single word of this conversation to your parents, I'll tell them you're a pathological liar who makes up stories for attention." But here's the moment that broke my heart and filled me with infinite pride. The exact moment Cassandra raised her voice, Winston appeared out of nowhere, like a furry superhero. He positioned himself between Cassandra and Brooklyn, his hackles raised, his teeth bared, growling and barking with all the courage he had in his protective heart. But what I saw in the following minutes, what Cassandra did to our brave Winston to punish him for his intervention, I swear it was the cruelest thing I've ever seen done to a defenseless animal. In the recordings, you could clearly see the sequence of events. Every time Cassandra became aggressive with Brooklyn or Tyler, Winston intervened immediately. He would bark to distract her, position himself physically between her and the children, even knock things over to interrupt her verbal attacks. When Cassandra started threatening Tyler, "You're too small and stupid to protect your sister. You're a useless child who will never amount to anything," Winston jumped between them and started barking loudly to drown out her cruel words. Cassandra turned toward him with a fury that was frightening. "Damn stupid dog," she screamed. "I'll kill you if you don't stop interfering." She took a heavy book from the bookshelf and hurled it at him with all her strength. Winston was hit full in the ribs, but didn't give up. He returned immediately, limping but determined to protect the children. Cassandra kicked him with her pointed shoes. She hit him with a rolled-up magazine. She even tried to lock him out of the room, pushing him violently into the hallway. But Winston kept coming back, again and again. Every time she raised her voice, or made a threatening gesture toward Brooklyn and Tyler, he was there. Our 70-pound golden retriever fighting against an adult monster to save our children. The worst part came when Cassandra, exasperated by Winston's continuous interference, decided to punish him definitively. She took a kitchen knife. No, she didn't use it to physically hurt him, but she started threatening him, waving the blade in front of his terrified face. "Next time you interfere," she hissed, "I'll make sure you never bark again." But Winston, our brave protector, wasn't intimidated even by this. What he did in response to that threat, what we saw in the last part of the recording, made us understand that some animals are truly guardian angels sent to protect the innocent. Share this video with every parent you know. This story must be seen by everyone who has children. I didn't even wait for the recording to finish. I called the police at 3 a.m, my hands shaking as I dialed the number. "Hello, I need to report a case of child abuse. I have video evidence." The operator connected me with the specialized unit for crimes against minors. "Ma'am, can you come to the station tomorrow morning with the recordings?" "No," I replied firmly. "This woman must be arrested before she comes back here. I won't allow her to touch my children again." 2 hours later, 3 police cars were parked in front of Cassandra's house. They arrested her while she was sleeping, charging her with abuse and psychological mistreatment of minors, animal cruelty, and document fraud. During the interrogation, the truth came out like a raging river. Cassandra wasn't even her real name. Her real name was Michelle Torres, and she had already targeted at least 6 families in the past 3 years. Her perfect references? All fake, created by an accomplice who ran a phantom agency. Her Northwestern degree? A forgery so sophisticated, it had fooled even background check agencies. Her system was diabolical in its simplicity. She targeted affluent families with young children, presented herself with perfect fake credentials, gained the parents' complete trust, and then began her work of psychological destruction. But what we discovered about her past, what she did before becoming a babysitter, made us understand we had dealt with a true psychopath who had made this her full-time job. The police investigation revealed a chilling picture. Cassandra, or Michelle, had studied psychology not to help children, but to understand how to damage them most effectively. The 5th person we interviewed was Jake, a 28-year-old guy who was studying to become an elementary school teacher. The moment he crossed the threshold, Winston ran to meet him with his tail wagging enthusiastically, immediately offering his paw for a shake. "This is Winston," I told him, smiling. "If he approves of you, it means you're the right person." Jake bent down to pet Winston, who immediately rolled over to show his belly in complete trust. "He's beautiful. You can see he's a very intelligent dog." During the first trial evening with Jake, we installed the cameras again, not out of distrust, but for safety. The recordings showed 3 hours of perfect normalcy. Jake helping the children with homework, playing fetch with Winston in the backyard, reading bedtime stories. And Winston? Winston had stayed relaxed and happy all evening, even bringing Jake his favorite tennis ball as a sign of complete acceptance. But what we understood in the following months has what this experience taught us about communication between humans and animals, forever changed the way we see the world and relationships. This experience taught us that pets aren't just cute companions that make the house more cheerful. They are silent guardians, endowed with instincts that we humans have lost over the course of evolution. Winston had never studied psychology, didn't know the signs of abuse, hadn't read manuals on how to recognize predators. But his pack instinct, that primitive wisdom that all dogs possess, had allowed him to see through Cassandra's perfect mask. I started reading scientific studies on animal behavior. I discovered that dogs can smell certain diseases before symptoms manifest. They can sense earthquakes hours before they happen. Dogs often show strange behaviors before something serious happens in the family. Dogs, our veterinarian explained to me, communicate primarily through body language and energy. They don't get fooled by sweet words or fake smiles. They feel people's intentions directly through scent and subtle behavioral cues. I started noticing small details I had ignored before. When the mailman comes, Winston runs to the window and wags his tail. When the gas technician arrives, he brings him a toy as a greeting. But when a door-to-door salesman once came who gave me a strange feeling, Winston growled low and positioned himself between me and the stranger. And what I discovered talking to other pet owners, the stories they told me, made me understand that Winston isn't an isolated case. There are thousands of dogs who every day protect their families from dangers that humans can't perceive. Share your experiences in the comments. Has your pet ever saved you from something? Mrs. Peterson, our neighbor, told me how her dog Luna had started growling and showing her teeth every time her daughter's new boyfriend came over. I thought she was just being territorial, she told me. Then I discovered that man had a history of domestic violence. Dr. Thompson, our pediatrician, told me about a case he had followed, a 4-year-old child who was being abused by the nanny. The family dog had started barking and trying to bite the woman every time she approached the child, he explained. The parents thought the dog had become aggressive. Actually, he was trying to protect the child. I found university studies documenting how dogs can recognize sexual predators, violent people, individuals with personality disorders, not through rational analysis, but through subtle chemical signals, body posture, micro-expressions that the human brain doesn't consciously register. In some countries, dogs are officially used in courts to help child abuse victims testify. Their calm and reassuring presence allows children to tell the truth without being overwhelmed by fear. What I understood is that every dog is potentially a guardian, a protector, an early warning system against dangers that threaten the family. It doesn't matter if it's a golden retriever, a German shepherd, a small chihuahua, or even a mixed breed. They all have that special sensitivity that we have forgotten. But what happened a year after Cassandra's arrest? What Winston did when we accidentally met one of her other victims showed us that some animals never forget and that their sense of justice is stronger than ours. A year later, while we were at the park with the children, we met the Davis family, one of Cassandra's other victims. Their daughter Madison, 6 years old, was still very shy and would hide behind her mum when talking to strangers. The moment Winston saw Madison, something incredible happened. He approached her slowly, with gentle and reassuring movements. He sat in front of her and offered his paw, tilting his head in that sweet way dogs do when they want to comfort someone. Madison, who according to her mum was still afraid of most people and animals, tentatively reached out and touched Winston's paw. For the first time in a year, we saw her truly smile. "It's like he knows," Mrs. Davis whispered to me, with tears in her eyes. "It's like he understands what Madison went through." Winston stayed with Madison for 20 minutes, letting her pet him, gently licking her hand, transmitting all his positive and protective energy to her. If this story has moved you, give it a like and subscribe to not miss other incredible stories like this one. Today, 3 years after that nightmare, Brooklyn is 11 years old and is a confident, curious, life-filled girl. Tyler is 9 years old and continues to be our little sunshine who brightens every day. And Winston? Winston is 12 years old now, but he's still our tireless guardian. Every evening he does his patrol round. Every morning he greets us with his enthusiastic tail wagging. Every day, he reminds us that true love and protection don't need words. If your dog behaves strangely with someone, if it shows signs of stress or aggression toward a specific person, listen to them. Don't ignore their signals. Don't look for rational explanations. Dogs don't lie. They don't have hidden agendas. They don't get corrupted by fake smiles or sweet words. They see directly into people's souls and recognize good from evil with a precision that we humans have lost. Share this video with every parent you know. Tell your friends, your family, anyone who has children and pets. It could save a family from devastating trauma. And tell me in the comments about your experiences. Has your dog ever warned you about someone? Has it ever shown strange behaviors toward a person who later turned out to be dangerous? Your stories could help other parents recognize the signs before it's too late. Winston is no longer just our dog. He's our hero, our protector, our furry guardian angel who taught us that true love knows no species, knows no limits, knows no fear when it comes to protecting those we love. Never underestimate, not even for a second, the wisdom of your pets. They could be the only barrier between you and someone who wants to harm you. Trust them. Listen to them. They protect your family with their lives. And remember, sometimes heroes have 4 paws and a heart as big as the world. If this video has saved you, or could save someone you know, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it everywhere. Together, we can protect as many families as possible. See you in the next video.